Hello again. John Mahama has unveiled sweeping reforms to strengthen Ghana's economic sovereignty, announcing plans to purchase cocoa in cities and halt the export of raw material ores by 2030. Well, the announcement, published on the official website of the presidency, was also explained at his high-level event, Accra Reset's Addis Ababa reckoning, on the sidelines of the African Union Assembly in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he outlined urgent steps to end what he described as exploitative financing arrangements that have long constrained Ghana's cocoa sector. And of course, we still stay on cocoa because a cocoa board says it is taking steps to address financial challenges in the cocoa sector. Executive management and senior staff have announced salary reductions for the remainder of the 2025-26 crop year, with management taking a 20% pay cut and senior staff a 10% reduction. Well, this move, announced in a statement by the Cocoa Authority, forms part of a broader cost-cutting strategy to reduce expenditure and align operational costs with revenue. Let's get details from this statement. And this is it. It says the executive management and the senior staff of Cocoa Board have, effective today, Monday, February 16th, reduced their salaries for the remainder of the 2025-26 crop year in recognition of the current liquidity challenges in the cocoa industry. The executive management has taken a 20% cut, while the senior staff have taken a 10% reduction in their respective salaries. This decision and other cost-cutting measures in procurement and a staff rationalization exercise are aimed at reducing the overall expenditure of Cocoa Board and aligning cost with revenue. So those are excerpts of that particular statement, which was released by the Ghana Cocoa Board, otherwise known as Cocoa Board, just yesterday. Right, and let's get onto the telephone lines right now and get some reactions to this particular development that just came in yesterday, and speak to the ranking member on the Agri Committee of Parliament, Yao Opoku Isaac. Mr. Isaac Opoku, welcome to the program. We begin with what the president has said. He says that there's a new plan for 2030 where Ghana will cut ties with foreign assistance when it comes to cocoa. Do you think that it is feasible, the foreign financing of cocoa by 2030, that target that has been set by President John Mahama? Is it feasible?
Well, it is. It was even started by the Nado administration. If you remember, 2024-25, we never went for any syndicated loan. Mandate to finance the cocoa board operations. There was no external funding in 2024-25. Yes, so it's feasible. Hello, sir.
Yes, I am struggling to hear you. I want to believe you can hear.
I said it is feasible. I said it is feasible. It was even started by the Nana Addo administration.
Okay.
And if you remember, in 2024-25, there was no syndication of cocoa loans, and we still managed to finance cocoa board operations without any external funding. So yes, I agree, it is feasible.
But looking at the current climatic conditions when it comes to cocoa, 2030 is just 4 years away. Is it achievable? Yes, it is feasible, but is it achievable?
I'm saying that it's even 2024-25, we didn't go for any external loan.
Right.
Cocoa Nanado charged the then administration to develop a system where cocoa board would seek any external funding. So they developed what we call self-financing model. That is what we use to finance a cocoa board in 2024-25.
Tell us a bit about this self-financing model. Isaac, I want you to tell us a bit about this self-financing model that you say was introduced under President Akufo-Addo.
Yes, you don't have to go for any external funding. You have to look from within.
Okay, right. Now let's talk about the cost cutting of Cocoa Board. They've cut their salaries by up to 20%. Commendable?
I don't agree at all.
Why?
The actions and inactions of Cocoa Board management They should not. So anytime there is a challenge, I mean, if there is a reduction in the external price, the ordinary worker in cocoa board will suffer for
Right, but these were calls. Oh dear, Isaac.
To
Right.
the public affairs manager,
Right.
and it's paid for every month to save around 4 million Ghana cedis,
Right.
5 million Ghana cedis. You know, if you are owing the license buying companies to the tune of 11 billion, how can 5 million
Oh dear, Isaac, your lines are really not helping us this afternoon, but let's try to reconnect the lines and get you back. So
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. Let's try one more time.
Yes.
You were saying that this is not a good policy, what Cocoa Board is doing.
No, it is not. It is not. The ordinary staff of Cocoa Board should not suffer for the mismanagement of the Cocoa Board, managers. They shouldn't.
Right, but, but we are seeing salary cuts of up to 20%. The executive members within Cocoa Board are also cutting their salaries by up to 20%. Surely they should.
The press release, they are going to cut for the rest of the season. So are they also suggesting that at the end of this season, the cocoa farmer will be restored to the original status? Is that what they are saying? You see, the issue at stake is the non-payment of cocoa farmers. So I was expecting that all the attention will be on the non-payment of cocoa farmers. They shouldn't try and milk the water. They shouldn't milk the waters at all. They should concentrate on the non-payment of cocoa farmers and pay them what.
Do you see this as a knee-jerk reaction?
It is. It is. And you cannot operate, a huge institution like Cocoa Board this way. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You see, Kenneth, remember, if Cocoa Board, before you fix the producer price, it should be based on the achieved FOB. The producer price is fixed based on the achieved FOB. You cannot use the daily sales to determine the producer price. So what information did they give to the producer price review committee? Not until you give them the achieved price, they cannot determine, what should be given to the other stakeholders. You have to determine the margin for license buying companies, for transportation, for disinfestation, for staff costs, and so on. So if you do not have the achieved FOB, how do you determine those proportions? How do you do that? So they cannot, be reducing the salaries of Cocoa Board staff every now and then. Anytime the international price goes up, the wages and salaries of Cocoa Board will be increased. And anytime it goes down, it will be reduced. How do you operate a system like that? Who will have the comfort to work in such an environment? Kenneth?
Yes. Isaac, yes. I'm wondering where the rest of the money, they say that they are cutting their salaries by up to 20%. I don't think you are the right person to ask this question, but since you're in Parliament, I think it's a bit appropriate to ask you. Do you know the rest of the 20% of these salary cuts, do you know where they're going to?
The rest of you mean, I didn't get the import of the question very well.
I mean, they are cutting their salaries by up to 20%. So do you know where the rest of that 20% that would have entered their bank accounts, do you know where they're going to?
I think they are going to start from the beginning of this month. That is the understanding I'm getting, isn't it?
Right.
And you are asking where that money will go to?
Yes, the cuts.
Well, I think it's for Cocoa Board to decide. I'm not getting what you mean, exactly. But I think it's for Cocoa Board to decide. But in any case, according to the PRO, they are going to raise about 5 million every month.
Yes.
And I'm saying if you are owing the license buying companies in excess of 11 billion cedis, what are you going to do with the 5 million? What are you going to do with that?
But
so they should find proper way to address the issue.
But Isaac, some will say while they look forward to finding proper ways to address these issues, 5 million will not do much, but it's better than nothing, don't you think?
Well, if they stop the massive renovation, the unnecessary renovations they are doing, I think they can raise more money to finance cocoa purchases. You know, it's a better way than reducing the poor cocoa board staff's salaries and wages. I don't support that at all. It doesn't give the staff any comfort at all.
Right. The minority has been very vociferous, calling for the sack of a cocoa board CEO, Randy Abe. Is that something you still stand by as a minority in Parliament?
Well, I think I will leave this in the hands of the appointers. It's for the public to judge. It's for the public to judge. But my only advice is that he should listen to technical advice. That is my only advice to him. He should listen to technical advice. As I said, the producer price is fixed on the achieved price. So if you knew what was in the kitty, this situation wouldn't have arisen. He was advised to sell at least 70% of the projected crop ahead of time. If he had sold forward, as we advised, we wouldn't have been in this messy situation today.
And now we're hearing that Ivory Coast, our neighbors, are maintaining the farm gate price of equivalent of 3,600, while we have reduced ours to 2,587 Ghana cedis. There are concerns that this could lead to smuggling of cocoa from Ghana to Ivory Coast. Do you also see that?
It's already started. We are all selling the same cocoa, the same conventional cocoa. It's the same cocoa we are all selling. So if Côte d'Ivoire is able to maintain their price, you see, why can't we do the same? This price drop, it's not, a new happening. It happened during Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's time. Remember, in 2016, the average price was around $3,000 per ton. By January 2017, it had fallen to $2,000 per ton, a drop of about 50%. Nana Addo so found a way to cushion the cocoa farmer. President Kufuor found the same situation, during his tenure, and yet he managed to cushion the cocoa farmer. Côte d'Ivoire is paying 3,600. We are paying about 10 million old Ghana cedis, about 1,000 cedis less. The tendency is for farmers to smuggle their cocoa. So if Côte d'Ivoire is able to maintain the old price, why can't we do the same? In any case, we have sold the bulk of our cocoa already. The bulk of our cocoa, they projected to produce around 650,000 metric tons. The bulk of it has already been sold.
But
so what is their problem now? Bank of Ghana has already reported that 2025 cocoa receipts exceeded 3.9 billion. So why are they complaining about shortage of cash? Why?
Isaac, now that you brought in the comparison between President Akufo-Addo's tenure and now, the argument the majority also make is that now we are seeing the farmers being paid 90% of the FOB price, which is the 2,587. During Akufo-Addo's tenure, they say that cocoa prices went to as high as $10,000 and they were paid just 30% of it. That is the argument that was made during 2024, that if you were to pay realistic prices, you should have been paying more than 6,000 Ghana cedis. So really, is this not double standards?
They were using the spot price to determine, the farm gate price then. They were only using the spot price. They were not using the average FOB price. They were not. You see, so if Nana Addo had listened to those pressures, those arguments, if Nana Addo had listened and increased cocoa farm gate price to 6,000, Kenneth, what would have happened today? what would have happened today? So that's what I'm saying, that the producer price is based on the achieved FOB price. You cannot use daily sales at spot price to determine the producer price. You know, those days, because of politics, anytime the international price went up, the same day they will use the calculation that Nanado should pay 70% of the international price. You cannot use the spot price to determine the farm gate price. You cannot. It's an achieved FOB. So they cannot use that. That argument they are peddling, it doesn't hold water. So how come Cote d'Ivoire is able to pay 3,600 today and we have reduced ours to just 2,500? The cocoa farmer doesn't want to listen to this kind of argument. All what the cocoa farmer is saying is that you promised me 6,000 Ghana cedis per bag. You're unable to do that. At least maintain what you came to meet.
Right. Okay, Isaac Yaopoko, I want to thank you very much for your time this afternoon. He's the ranking member on the Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee of Parliament. Still on cocoa, though, some cocoa farmers in Kajabi district of the Oti region have bared their teeth at government for what they say is a failed promise to them due to the reduction in cocoa producer price. The farmers argue that government should have at least maintained the price at what the previous government was buying the cocoa beans from them. Peter Senu reports.
Some cocoa farmers who have interacted with Joy News following the recent price cut by government due to a fall in the world market price of cocoa say they feel shortchanged by government. Tassa Safiu is one of the cocoa farmers with over 48 acres of cocoa farm.
In fact, it's a big disappointment to us as farmers. We are extremely disappointed. The price was reduced to 2,500. They've now moved it back to 2,800 thereabout. That is still not good enough. Particularly those of us within Oti, the eastern corridor of Oti, where smuggling is so rampant. I mean, if you speak with Cocoa Board, they will tell you the effort I put in to stop smuggling. So when government had taken the price to 3,600, what it meant was that the price between Ghana and Togo were almost the same. So smuggling was going to come down. Today, smuggling has started again because the price in Ghana is so low. Look, this year, I bought fertilizer, Yara fertilizer, Asasura alone, 55,000. How many bags of cocoa do I have to sell in order to be able to make 55,000? That's a lot of cocoa. And productivity within the major season was very low. It is this minor season that we were expecting that, now, as you can see the farm, the crops are coming up, and then they've reduced the price. How are we going to make for that? This farm, you can see, I clear this farm 6 times in a year. Okay? On average, each time they clear, I spend between 12 to 15,000. So if you multiply that by 6, you can imagine. And that is why you can have the farm being the way it is.
Yibwe Wisdom is another cocoa farmer. The emotional farmer say he may not be able to pay his laborers due to the price cut. He wants government to at least pay what the previous government was paying them. He argues his area, Konsuaso, produces one of the largest tons of cocoa in the district, but remains not connected to the national grid after years of failed promises by politicians.
The cocoa price that has been decreased has affected me a lot because I have about 18 acres with 15 workers that I pay every season. And my agreement was upon the former price that the government was buying the cocoa. And here is the case. After the agreement that I had with the workers, now the price has been reduced to the extent that I can't pay my workers. We have been told that the youth must go back to agriculture. And we are in it now. We are trying to employ people that are working in the street to bring peace, that Ghana will take back its former clothes. Here is the case. I feel bad. Anybody who is in darkness behaves abnormally. Konsuaso is the greatest producer of cocoa in, let me say, KJB district, but we don't have light. So whatever is happening in the country, how do we know? Someone just come here and deceive us. So please, if anything at all, the simple light, the light, street light, street light, and the light itself. We don't need the post. When we say we were crying for light, they brought us post. Post doesn't mean light. We are not fools. Post doesn't mean light. We mean light. Press, we can also see.
For Eric, the salaries of cocoa board workers must also be slashed to make room for some adjustment to their cocoa prices, else they may not be able to take care of their families, as he claims over 16 family members depend on his cocoa farm after the loss of his father.
If the world market is down, because of that they are reducing the cocoa price, the salary of the CEO, are they going to reduce it? Because if I'm dealing business, my personal business, and I know that the business is collapsing, if I've been preparing food, the meals that I've been preparing in the house for my family, I'll reduce it. Because if I didn't reduce it and I said I will still enjoy like the way I've been enjoying, it will collapse. If they are considering that the world market have fallen, so that's why they have reduced the price of cocoa for we the farmers, then they have to review their salary.
We bring you extended version of these arguments in subsequent report. Peter Senu for Joy News.
Exclusive information available to Joy News indicates that the Environmental Protection Authority has busted 14 containers packed with hundreds of Chanfang machines at Tema Port. A high-powered EPA delegation led by the Chief Executive Officer, Nana Ama Brown Kluche, is currently at the Tema Port. Lots of questions are coming up this afternoon on this major bust. Who is behind the import and what does this mean for the general fight against illegal mining? Let's have a conversation this afternoon and speak to the Deputy CEO of the EPA in charge of operations, Michael Ayamba. Also on Zoom is the convener for the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Kenneth Ashigbe. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this afternoon. Professor Ayamba, I want to start with you. What led to this seizure?
Thank you and good afternoon. As you rightly indicated, we are currently at the Golden Jubilee field where the items have been impounded by national security at the instance of the EPA. We received intelligence from the national security that they had seen some items that resemble the Chanfang machines, and our ground team at the ports went to verify. And yesterday, upon the first inspections, I instructed that they be kept for further interrogation. The issue is that they are being imported by a certain Chinese man whose identity we do not know now, but represented by one Kusi, who is a Ghanaian. And we are told they are light agricultural machinery, that is tricycles. But our suspicion is that these machines can also be re-engineered to for use in illegal mining, that is Chanfang. So we have currently instructed that the items be impounded and kept until we do all the necessary checks to ensure that they are actually tricycles as they have been imported with.
One will ask, why the seizure? Is it illegal to import Chanfangs into Ghana?
A couple of months back, latter part of last year, the EPA issued a statement that all undertakings that appeared or provided services that could be deployed in mining needed to clear with the authority before they either import or distribute those items. So we embarked on the closure of Chanfang shops, seizure of Chanfang machines, as you can recall. So that operation is still ongoing. We have extended it even to large-scale mines where we are demanding accountability of their logistics, like sodium cyanide. Mining entities that are no longer using them, EPA is seizing them and stockpiling them for safety so that they are not affected to illegal mining. So,
hello, Professor Ayamba. Do I still have Professor Ayamba on the line? It appears we've lost him, but we'll try to reconnect and get him back on the line. But let's bring in Ken Ashigbe, who is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Mr. Ashigbe, grateful for joining me this afternoon. You've heard the Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. They say that they got a tip-off from the National Security, but as of now, they do not know the identity of the person who imported these Chanfangs to Ghana. Usually, when such intelligence operations are done, the individuals behind these, imports are not revealed. Do you think that there will be a closure as to who really imported these into the country?
Well, thank you very much. I think that we need to commend the CEO for the EPA and his team for this particular thing. And I trust Prof. Kluche, she would let us know who were behind this. And it is important that we don't let people hide behind this could be used for agriculture. It's just like when you look at the issues of cocaine. Cocaine could be used in producing pharmaceuticals. But because of the impact that cocaine could do to us, it is proscribed, and so that you for somebody who is importing this number 14 containers of these Chanfangs into this country, we definitely need to know that he's not bringing them in just to come and do agriculture because he loves us to do agriculture. We have seen the things that he's doing to our country, to the extent that we even have some assemblies, actually permitting these Chanfangs and what they call the one leg, and the distractions that they are doing to our community. And so we definitely need to get to the bottom of this, and we need to make sure we find out those people who are behind this. So when His Excellency John Mahama says in October 2024 that to be able to deal with the issues of Galamsey, you need to deal with the kingpins, somebody who can bring 14 containers into our country, an item that has been prescribed. These are the people who want to destroy our country. And we need to find these people up and make sure we're dealing with them. Now, even excavators, we are told that if you're even bringing excavators, you are supposed to clear it before you even order it and put it on a ship. How does he bring Chanfangs into this country and it gets to the port and we have to find it's intelligence that gets to do this? So we need to commend the EPA for what has been done, but a lot more needs to be done. And we need to, and for you, the media, you also don't need to rest. We should not, wait, and then by the time we see it, all of these 14 containers get slipped into the system. There are particular places in Ghana now where all of these prescribed equipments are being sold and are being fabricated.
Right.
And if we're going to deal with this, then we should deal with it at the source, at the ports.
Right.
I was speaking to the MCE for the Ahanta West yesterday night. This was the same thing we're talking about. If we want to stop it, let's stop it at the ports. Don't let it come into the system. So I think we need to commend the EPA for this, and we need to see what happens after this.
All right, Mr. Ashigbe, don't go yet. I have Professor Ayamba back on the line. Professor Ayamba, unfortunately, we lost you, but thankfully we have you back on the line. You were giving us some details.
Yes, I was just saying we have currently asked that the items remain under seizure until we are able to verify that they cannot be re-engineered and used for illegal mining. And it is part of our effort to monitor the supply chain of inputs into mining to ensure that they don't go into illegal mining. You can imagine that if these turn out to be Chanfang machines, 210 of them, you can imagine the damage they can do So we want to actually commend the national security and our port operations team for being alert. And I must say that it signals the intention of government to be ruthless regarding the quest and the desire to stop illegal mining. I also think that it is a message to every importer and every business undertaking to clear out with the EPA and to check and ensure that they are not in foul of this regulation. No government agency will look away as far as illegal mining is concerned. And as demonstrated by the national security and the EPA, we are in the field trying to ensure that we curtail the scourge that is currently going on.
And while investigations are ongoing, has anybody be apprehended?
There's one that showed up as an agent for the importer who is currently in the United States, we are told. So he is just a clearing agent, and as we speak now, he is with the national security. He has owned up that he's the agent for the importer. But the importer himself, who we are told is Chinese, is not in the country.
And where are these containers being kept?
They are being kept at the Golden Jubilee Field at the Tema Harbor now. We'll ensure that they remain there until we are able to clear everything. We are able to test to ensure that they are not Chanfangs. If they are not Chanfangs and they are tricycles as they have indicated, we need to be straight to the point, and then probably check to see whether their importations were right, then we release them. If we find out that they can also be retrofitted and used for illegal mining, then they'll be seized and probably destroyed.
Can you give us an approximate figure of how many Chanfangs you suspect are in these 14 containers?
By my estimate, there are 15 in each container, 40-footer container, and we have 14. So at least 210 Chanfang machines.
You mentioned earlier that you are going to ensure that these tools are going to be used for farming purposes as they claim. Does that mean that if it is found out that although it's Chanfang, but they tell you that they are using it for farming purposes, you're going to let them go with it?
No, we are actually working to ensure that we rule out any possibility of these machines having any function in illegal mining. So if they can even be refitted in the slightest means to use for illegal mining, we will not release them.
Right. Professor Michael Ayamba, thank you very much. He's the Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. I still have Ken Ashbe on the line with me. He's the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Ken, you've heard the Deputy CEO of EPA saying that even if it is found out that it can be used for illegal mining, it will not be released to them. Happy?
Well, I think that's the way to go. You know, if it is an equipment that can be retrofitted for illegal mining, we definitely should not release that, because we know how many people are using these equipment to do agriculture. It's not being sold in the Volta region. You see the reason why. You can imagine why it's not being sold in the Volta region. There's no mining happening in the Volta region. Neither is it being sold in Greater Accra, because we don't do any mining. Go to places, you know, in the Ashanti region, the Western region, Western North. That is where you see a lot of them being sold. The reason is that there's the purpose for it. And again, we have seen that the Amantia Central, you know, they even are permitting people to use it. So we need to clear it out of the system and make sure if we have pursue extradition for the former Minister for Finance to come. This person who is in the U.S., once we do, we should also be seeking to extradite him to come to Ghana for him to be also prosecuted.
Details about the owners of these alleged excavators are scanty, as the Deputy CEO of EPA mentioned, but do you get a sense that it could be a big network which could include high-profile individuals in our society?
Well, I think that we should not speculate. Once there's an agent who's been dealing with him, we should be able to trace. You know, if you go to court right now, the court will be able to give you that permission to be able to get this, the call records of this particular person, and then be able to find who he's been dealing with so far as this conversations are concerned. If you throw Act 995 at this particular agent, because you see the law is such that even if you are bad and conspire with somebody to bring these things in to do illegal mining, you know, the sentences are very dire. I'm pretty sure he will sink and he will tell us all the people who are related to it. And I agree with you. These things, it's not just a single person bringing them in. It could be a cartel that is doing it, but it is about investigating it and finding out those who are behind it and dealing with them. And if you consider that we ourselves know that we're in a state of war and these are weapons of mass destruction, then we should treat them like that.
If they eventually found out to be Chanfangs and were imported into the country for mining purposes, what should we do with the machines?
Well, I think that, again, the law is very clear. Once you do that, you take them to court, and then once there's a confiscation, you take them to court. Then there is a forfeiture. If there is a way in which you can immobilize them in such a way that it cannot be used for any illegal mining and can be repurposed for a particular purpose, then you can control fine. Otherwise, what we can do is to make sure that we take them and recycle them and take the materials that we can get out of them. It is important that we make sure that it never gets back into the system to do any illegal activity.
Ken Ashigbe, always grateful to have you on any of our shows. He's the media coalition against Galamsey. He's the convener of that particular group. You're still watching the pulse here on Joy News. Let's bring in more stories this afternoon as Bokbokbo and Fuveme, two coastal communities in the Anloga district of the Volta region, have experienced extensive displacement and loss of infrastructure as years of coastal erosion pushed the sea far inland, destroying homes, schools, churches, cemeteries, and freshwater sources. Sadly, Bokbokbo is completely gone into the sea. In parts of Fumeme, the shoreline has receded by more than 100 meters within the last decade, with over 200 houses already lost. While rising sea levels, stronger tidal waves, environmental degradation, and disrupted sediment flow from earlier sea defense projects have compounded the damage, leaving hundreds of residents homeless and prompting urgent calls for comprehensive coastal protection, relocation, and compensation. Ivy Setoji has more.
The waves arrive without warning, without mercy. What used to be living rooms, kitchens, and safe childhood spaces are now deep under the ocean. In these communities, the sea is no longer a distant horizon. It has become the neighbor that breaks down walls in the dead of the night. An elderly woman lost her 6-bedroom home in a single night. She now sleeps on a mat in her daughter's small hall. And yet, carrying memories the sea could not wash away. For children like 12-year-old Jejom, the loss is not just physical, it is the erasure of hope. The school collapses into the ocean. The future now hangs in uncertainty. Experts like Dr. Tepson and Professor Gerald Albert Yiran say stronger tidal waves, rising sea levels, sand mining, deforestation, and disrupted sediment flow from earlier sea defense projects have turned this coastline into a battlefield. They have been speaking on the issue.
From government perspective, nature-based solutions have never been one of their considerations for a long time, because they have been considering the hard solutions, which is building sea defense walls. And these sea defense walls are very expensive, so government needs funding, and that is good. Probably one of the reasons why nature-based solutions particularly like mangrove, is not being considered is because of the harvesting. The local people harvest the mangrove for firewood and also for building materials, and that has affected the mangrove population in the area. So it also contributed to interventions not looking in that direction. But if a large-scale intervention is put in that direction, it can serve both purpose of providing, meeting the needs of the local people in terms of getting them to have firewood, charcoal, and also providing building material, as well as serving as defense walls for the encroachment of the sea. So, for instance, if government decides to go to explore the local nature-based solutions, I think that would be something that already the community members are used to, and they can embrace it as one of their projects or one of their own, because they already have the local knowledge, they have the indigenous knowledge of how to nurture mangroves, and they can do this in large quantities and also in a fast manner that can help or cover a wider area with minimal cost. So I would urge that governments should engage the local communities so as they collaborate to find lasting solutions using indigenous knowledge system.
The people are fighting a war they cannot win alone. And Fuveme, Okpogbo is gone. Over 200 houses in Fuveme are gone. The shoreline has moved more than 100 meters inland in less than a decade. Entire families are now climate refugees, scattered across nearby towns with no land, no compensation, and no means to rebuild. Wells are contaminated with salt water. Fishermen must travel long distances just to launch their boats. Mothers work for hours seeking clean drinking water. And with every high tide, fear rises in these already devastated communities. This is no longer just erosion, it is displacement, it is trauma, it is slow disappearance of entire clan. The communities know time is running out. They are pleading for urgent and strategic intervention before their names exist only on old maps.
I left my father's house and made something for myself as a Dupoji, but yet still I am not comfortable. It is very difficult and we are really suffering and we need something to be done about our situation. We have to borrow money to go for fishing always, and the sea have displaced our communities, leaving us frustrated and homeless. Please come and do something about our terrible situation.
Their call is clear: build comprehensive, well-designed sea defense system in Fuveme and its surrounding communities. Provide fair compensation, restore mangrove buffers, create sustainable relocation plans, and offer psychological, social support to families who have lost everything.
As a leader of the community, even if I have a place personally to relocate to, it will not be possible for me to leave my people behind and go to any other place. So I have to go with my people. And the question is, where are we heading to? Across the road, there is a Kita Lagoon, which is about to flood in this June to July. The land behind the lagoon is a swampy land. Already you can see a lot of water lodge over there. We don't have any other place to go. What we want the government to do immediately is to dredge the area. The more they are dredging, as soon as they start the dredging, the land, the sea will be going back.
As erosion continues to advance, these communities wait, unsure of what tomorrow will bring. But one thing is certain, without urgent national action, Puveme Agaveti Bokbobo may vanish, completely swallowed by a sea that shows no mercy. Ivy Satochi for Joy News.
This story is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with CDKN Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
Let's bring you more stories this afternoon as Managing Director of Ghana Water Limited, Adam Mutawakilu, has attributed persistent water shortages in parts of Accra and surroundings to aging treatment plants and decades of limited infrastructure expansion. Speaking on the Joy Super Morning Show, Mr. Mutawakilu revealed that several of the country's major water facilities were constructed more than 60 years ago and now operating below capacity.
The Candy plant in Weja, it was constructed in 1950. 1950, yes. Okay. Then we have the Pony Works at Pom. It was constructed in 1954. We have the Candy plant in Weja. It was constructed in 1960. Then we have the Pon New Works at Pom. It was constructed in 1965. Then we have the Adam Clark plant in Weja. It was constructed in 1980. Then in 1998, under Rollins, we constructed the Keseve plant. Then in 2014, two plants were constructed. That is the Tahal plant at Pom and the desalination plant under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And in 2015, two more plants were constructed. That is the Siemens plant in Pong and the China Gazuba plant, the same Pong. So that means that among the 10, 4 of these plants were constructed under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Since then, not even a gallon of water has been added to the production in Atma region, that is Accra, Greater Accra. So, and you know, the population grows, demand continue to increase. So in the first place, out of the 10, 5 are aged plants. The first thing that their capacity utilization is low. They have old pipeline. As at then, they were using asbestos and metals to construct the pipelines, and these are huge. Okay. So in the real sense, if not the intervention of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in his first term, would have been in serious crisis. Now, most of this transmission capacity utilization being low, most of the transmission lines are weak and need to be replaced, and that is a huge cost. We are talking about $356 million to replace the old pipes and put in new pipes.
356
million dollars
to
replace the old pipes.
That's about more than 3.5 billion Ghana cedis.
Exactly.
And your revenue for 2025 was?
It's about 1.8 billion.
About 1.8 billion.
Yes. For the whole of 2025, is 1.8 billion to 2 billion.
Yeah, but why did you wait till this time? I mean, you know that these these things are getting weaker. They need to be changed. Why do you wait for to have the cost increasing to 356 million?
That is the question we have to address as Ghanaians and as various government comes into office.
You understand?
But that's a question.
So they must. You are in charge now.
They must be.
So I'm asking Ghana Water. Why did Ghana Water wait? Why didn't Ghana Water take steps to actually change these pipes over the period? You see, let me go into this. Ghana Water cannot raise that amount of capital.
And this afternoon, a youth group, Concerned Youth of the Eastern Corridor of the Wa West District, has dismissed claims that the proposed siting of the 24-hour economy market at Potayanga was unilaterally taken by the Member of Parliament, Superintendent retired Peter Lanchini Tobu. Well, this comes after some residents of the area last week accused the MP of skewing development towards the eastern corridor of the Wa Enclave. The group explains that the decision to site the market was lawfully approved through the appropriate Wa West District Assembly structures, where the MP has no voting right. Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The focus of the press conference hinged mainly on two issues: the proposed siting of the Technical and Vocational Education Training Institute and the 24-hour economy market at Ga and Poyentan respectively. Their beef, however, is to create an erroneous impression that the aforementioned projects were meant for certain communities, but surreptitiously found their way to communities in the Eastern Corridor. To put matters in perspective, they disclosed that during the campaign tour of then NDC presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama in 2020 to unveil the NDC parliamentary candidate of the Wa West, Superintendent retired Peter Lanchini Tobu, the chiefs and people of the enclave appealed to him to consider opening up a second cycle institution in the enclave should Ghanaians give him the nod. The Ga-Traditional area, located within the central belt, was chosen, and the chiefs and people immediately offered a suitable piece of land for the project. The NDC failed in the 2020 elections but won it in 2024. Timbile Hafiz is the spokesperson for the concerned youth of the Eastern Corridor of Wa West District.
Our elders followed up with the MP and other political leaders in the district and the Upper West region to remind His Excellency the President of his promise to give us a second cycle educational institution. The sustained efforts and reminders yielded this positive outcome as the President fulfilled his pledge after 5 years of waiting by giving the Eastern Belt and the Wa West a TVET school. Would it be fair for anyone to suggest that the project should suddenly be relocated to another community? We say no. The request was for the Eastern Corridor. The land was made available in good faith. The promise is now being fulfilled. From Nyole to Tanena, up to Deiri, to Dolingo, Kunchileiri, and Wakra are all in the Eastern Corridor. And let no one try to belittle this portion of the district when it comes to hosting this project.
They averred that the proposed siting of the Tibet institution at Ga and the Hotel Senior High Technical School are not the same. Turning to the proposed siting of the 24-hour economy market at Poyentan, the concerned Eastern Corridor youth of Wa West District noted that there is no doubt many communities in the district, including those in the Eastern Corridor, could host this important project. However, they are of the firm belief that Poyentan is more suitable due to its geographical location.
Poyentan, as you may be aware, is one of the economic centers with a daily market in the Wa West District. The Poyentan market is arguably the second highest revenue generating market after Nyole Market, both located in the Eastern Corridor. It is therefore not surprising that the financial records at the Assembly continually show the Ga Area Council, that is the Eastern Corridor, as the topmost contributor to the internally generated fund of the district. Is this not enough justification to cite the project in this enclave?
It is. They opine that since the creation of the district some 22 years ago, they have benefited very little from projects in the district and should have been the people that would have made the loudest noise of uneven development.
Since the NDC took office in January 2025 till date, about 18 projects are either completed or under construction across the district. Only 3 are found within the Eastern Corridor. It 2-unit KG classroom block at Tanena, and 2 boreholes, that's hand pump boreholes, one at Pule and the other at Wekobo. It therefore cannot be factual that the Eastern Corridor is favored with projects more than the others just because the MP is from that side. The facts do not support that assertion. Wa West is larger than any single zone, and its development is not equal to the development of only the capital or any one community. Attempts to link the few projects coming to the Eastern Corridor to the origin of the MP are not only speculative but ill-intended and unfair.
Meanwhile, the Wa West Member of Parliament, Superintendent retired Peter Lenchino Tuwu, poo-pooed claims of sighting of an astroturf and kindergarten projects at Punyantanga.
There's no astroturf, yes. There is no KG in Punyantanga, yes. Development cannot be concentrated in the district capital alone. And some time ago, I heard when the E-block was recommended for the people of Doromo, they reacted violently that they won't agree for the E-block to go there. The E-block must come to Wichao. That is not the way to develop. We need to be balanced. We need to be competitive as much, but we need to understand that it's a national cake. If it goes here today to your left, tomorrow it will go to your right. And gradually one day you also get what you want. It's not a matter of fighting each other. We need to collaborate and ensure that the Wa West District develops. But I'm going to engage the youth so that they will understand what the true situation is.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Ga.
Local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs minister Ahmed Ibrahim has announced that government has increased the allowances of chiefs by 300%, organized training courses to build the capacities of the legal committees and registrars, and also increase of judicial committee allowances of the various houses of chiefs from 30,000 Ghana cedis to 50,000 Ghana cedis. The aim is in recognition of the vital role played by the traditional rulers of discharging their duties diligently with dignity, and also aid in the adjudication of disputes that are before the various regional houses of chiefs. Ahmed Ibrahim made the disclosure at the Diamond Jubilee of celebration of the late chief of Sisala State at Tumu. Joy News' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Kurowore Canton II reigned as the head of the Sisala State between 1918 and 1951. Though not formally educated, Kurowore II understood earlier in life that education is the key to unlocking potential, driving progress, and empowering communities. It's been 75 years since his passing, and a colorful deba was organized under the theme separating the legacy of Kurowore Canton II from traditional leadership to educational development, aimed at highlighting his contribution to the Sisala State. The colorful ceremony was attended by people from all walks of life, including paramount, divisional, and sub-chiefs from the Sisala enclave and beyond, particularly traditional rulers from other traditional areas in the region and the Savannah region, particularly Gonjes, who they shared ancestral ties with. Paramount Chief of the Tumu traditional area, Koro Richard Babini Canton IV, in a speech read on his behalf by his spokesperson, Canton Lurwe Mohammed, heaped encomiums and laudations on the government for initiating several policies which will have long-lasting impact on his people and the country at large. Koro Richard Babini Canton, however, pointed at some challenges he will want the government to help fix for them.
The revival of the Tumu Cotton General is dear to my heart because it has the potential of providing direct and indirect jobs to many thousands of youth which can also boost the economy of the area. This fits directly into the 24-hour economy of the government's policy.
Local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs minister Ahmed Ibrahim was commending the late Sisala chief for his tremendous contribution to the Sisala state through education, which better shaped positively the lives of the people. Spoke of the commitment of the government to introducing key interventions to support the dignity of traditional rulers for their significant and invaluable contribution to the peace and development of the country.
The government has increased the allowances for cheese by 300% to signify that government seriously believes in the present and existence and contribution of our traditional rulers. Government has also organized courses to build upon the capacity of our legal councils in our judicial committees, not forgetting the registrars of the various regional houses of peace. Government has also increased the judicial committee allowances of the various regional houses of peace from 30,000 per quarter to 50,000.
Ahmed Ibrahim disclosed that government will be constructing 24-hour economic market in all 261 metropolitan, municipal, and districts in the country, calling on traditional rulers to collaborate with the MDCEs to acquire land for the laudable project.
By March 2026, there's going to be saw cutting across all the districts in the Upper West region. And I therefore want to call on our traditional rulers to work collaboratively with our metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives to make sure that land is released for the construction of this laudable legacy.
Sisal is member of Parliament. Mohamed Issa Batagalier used the opportunity to affirm his commitment to following the footsteps of Kurwori II to improving the quality of the life of the people.
I reaffirm my commitment to advancing education and skills development, creating opportunities for the youth, not as charity, but as a strategy, and not as sentiment, but as survivor. He handed us a responsibility to think beyond convenience, a responsibility to act beyond our time, and a responsibility to ensure that the future of Sisala land is not negotiated by sympathy, but amplified through our potentials and capacity.
Also present at the function was our Power Senior Minister, Lawyer Charles Luongo Pozum.
Our development journey socially, economically, and politically must continue to draw strength from figures like Kurwori Canton II. For development without values is empty, and progress without identity is fragile. As regional minister, I reaffirm government's respect for traditional authority and our commitment to working hand in hand with our chiefs to promote peace, development, and inclusive growth across the region.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Tumu.
And for the past 14 years, 55-year-old Lillian Agbekpo has lived between two worlds, dealing with the stress of being a teacher and undergoing dialysis to manage her chronic kidney condition. She was once supported by her husband's employer to reduce the cost of treatment, but the cost has become unbearable following his retirement. She's calling for support for herself and other kidney patients who cannot afford the high cost of life-sustaining care. Joy News' Andy Opondinchi has more in this report.
As the sun rises, the world wakes up to the familiar hustle and bustle of the daily demands of life. Yet, for 55-year-old Lillian Agbekpo, a home economics teacher at Kwebenya Senior High School, the usual life is not same for her. Lillian has been battling a kidney condition for the past 14 years.
I've been on dialysis for 14 years now. It hasn't been easy because most of the time you would have to come here sometimes 3 to 4 times in the week, and I have to go to work as well. And apart from that, the money that goes into doing your labs, taking injections and other things, is a bit stressful.
But before this nightmare of kidney failure, she had a miscarriage in 1999. This incident tested her faith. As she goes through life battling this disease, Lillian begins her day in the classroom and ends it at the hospital for a dialysis treatment.
I've been teaching at Kwabenya Senior High School for the last 9 years. I was teaching elsewhere before going there, but I've been at Kwabenya for the last 9 years, and it hasn't been easy. Because coming to the hospital, sometimes you are not too well, you can't go for class. Other times, if you have to do some labs, you have to seek permission and not go to school. Other times, you finish with dialysis, you are feeling dizzy. The next morning, you have to go to school, but you are not too well. And so you would have to seek permission. It has not been easy.
Examples of dishes we can prepare using thin butters are pancakes.
Telecel Ghana took the burden of the cost of dialysis when her husband worked with the company. But he is retired from active service now, which means the medical bills can no longer be paid by the company.
Initially, my husband was working with Vodafone, and so they were the ones paying my bill. But he's gone on retirement for the last 3 years.
The National Health Insurance Scheme has provided some relief, offering support that has helped sustain her treatment.
It hasn't been easy because you can't keep calling somebody every time. You call once, twice, and then the next time when you call, they are not even ready to pick your calls. So you wouldn't call, but the NHIS has come in handy, at least from last year. But before then, we had to fall on other people.
Access to dialysis remains costly, and for many patients without support system, treatment becomes nearly impossible to maintain. Her youngest daughter sometimes fears she may lose her mother.
At first, I didn't actually understand what it meant. So sometimes when she goes to the hospital, she comes back tired. I didn't really understand why other people go and come and then they are okay, but then when she comes, she looks weak. Sometimes she vomits, all that. So then when I grew up a bit, I started going with her to the hospital. Then I got to know more about the kidney failure and then the dialysis. And when I also got there, I also got to know that people also die from it. So then it was actually scary, knowing that my mother could go and then anything could happen. And then I wouldn't see her again. It was really scary for me.
With a concern for others, Lillian appeals to benevolent individuals, organizations, and institutions to support kidney patients, particularly those who can afford life-sustaining services.
We would ask NGOs, individuals, anybody who wants to help kidney patients. It's not just me. At least I'm lucky at the end of the month because I'm working, I'll get something. But there are others here who have serious issues, who are not working. They always have to fall on people. So we are all ready to welcome anybody who wants to help us to have a transplant or even just supporting us to do our labs, to do our dialysis. Anybody at all is welcome.
Andy Opondenchi's report read to you.
And Deputy Minister of Agric John Dumelo says the ministry is engaging the Interior Ministry and authorities in Burkina Faso to provide security for Ghanaian tomato traders who cross the border to buy produce. Speaking earlier on Joy FM's Midday News, the Deputy Agric Minister said urgent steps are being considered to protect farmers while efforts continue to revive local tomato production. We'll be engaging him shortly for more details right here on The Pulse. But in the meantime, fear and grief have gripped Techiman Central Market after 7 Guinean traders were killed in a terrorist attack in Tetao. The victims were part of an 18-member group attacked by suspected Islamist militants while buying tomatoes. Reports say the attackers separated the men from the women, shot the men, and set their truck ablaze. 3 men and 1 woman survived with injuries. The Tomato and Onion Truck Drivers Association is now calling for stronger security measures to protect cross-border traders, while others are urging greater investment in local irrigation to boost domestic production and reduce reliance on imports. Joy News' Anas Sabet has more.
The atmosphere here in the Techiman Central Market is incredibly heavy. This market is usually a hub of energy and haggling, but today it is filled with mourning and fear. The news from Tetao has hit this community like a thunderbolt. As confirmed by the Interior Minister, 7 traders lost their lives. Reports indicated that the group had entered Burkina Faso to buy tomatoes when insurgents stormed the town of Tetao on Saturday. It was a moment of sheer terror. 7 out of the number were not so lucky. They are the reason this market is in mourning. We've been speaking with the leadership of the tomato sellers here, and the sense of helplessness is palpable. They tell me that the journey into Burkina Faso has always been a struggle, a gamble with logistics, with border issues, and now with their very lives. This attack has stripped away any sense of security they had left.
Adena aboyewu se ubasuma obi se okoto niema emra mobetia na omakohwe wo mompa ebeye dai se nebeye na yebetumi asuma nipa foforo wontumi nsuma obi se kwana akohwe na ono so de netiri kwaje a nti akwaya mpaebo yedi yawo
pata aboyewu pa sanse tosi eduma na ye no echiman ha Ghana ha de ye hantosi san Burkina na yekofantosi na ye babeton in fact yes isi wo Burkina no de no kura nyame ni enya so bi Ghana ntosi san ye nya ntosi e wo Ghana ha nton a keni kwa se yetwa ye ho kwan kura ha de Burkina.
The tragedy has sparked a desperate plea. The traders here are not just asking for security, they are asking for a fundamental change in Ghana's agricultural policy. They are appealing directly to the government of President John Mahama to invest heavily in irrigation.
I think yes, Ghana buy irrigation no. Obetumi ayebi wa ha na branche yi ne meba ya wo na ma sabi wo mu nya adwuma anya no na nka ofa wo mu na nka wo mu yebi wo ye ha no ba bia sansa ase de enye na ye nenko obi man so na ye koshia sa afire nchemi ebi.
Their argument is simple and powerful. If farmers in Ghana could farm all year round, there would be no need for these perilous journeys. The burden of having to rely on neighboring countries for a staple of our own cuisine, the tomato, is a burden that has now cost 7 lives. They envision a future where the Techiman market is filled with homegrown tomatoes, even in the dry season. A future where the only risks they face are market prices, not militant bullets. For now, the focus is on grief and supporting the families of the victims, but underline that grief is a powerful demand for change, a demand that the government steps in to provide the infrastructure that will keep these traders alive and keep Ghana's markets stocked with Ghana's own produce. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Well, thank you, Anas, for that report. But what really is the volume of trade between Ghana and Burkina Faso when it comes to vegetables? Well, Joy News has been looking into that. Let's take you to our touch screen now and look at at the numbers that are contributing to trade between Ghana and Burkina Faso. And this is the big number. In 2024 alone, our trade volume was $239 million with Burkina Faso. That's the amount of trade that we did with our neighbors, Burkina Faso. So let's look at the items that make up this number. Vegetable products, including tomatoes, which we're talking about, made up $98 million. That's the amount of vegetables we imported from Burkina Faso in 2024 alone. And in 2024, the electrical equipment that we imported from Burkina Faso was $11.2 million. Chemical products was $1 million. And iron and steel products that we imported from Burkina Faso in 2024 was $326,000. Vehicle parts that we imported from Burkina Faso in 2024 totaled $151,000. So those are the numbers that you've been seeing on your screen. In total, we imported $239 million worth of goods from Burkina Faso, or we traded $239 million worth of goods with Burkina Faso in 2024 alone. Let's get talking and get onto the phone lines right now and speak to Deputy Minister for Agriculture, John Dumelo, on measures to support tomato production in Ghana. I'm grateful for your time this afternoon, Minister. Why are we not able to produce enough tomato in Ghana? Let's begin with that. I want you to unmute so we can hear you.
Well, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sure. Well, good afternoon. First and foremost, I must say that we sympathize with the families that have lost their loved ones in Burkina Faso. Now, to your question, when we took over, one of the things we wanted to do, one of the things we are doing at the Ministry of Food and Agric is to assess the cells to be rehabilitated, the ones that need to be totally, built from scratch up, and then see how best we can help our vegetable farmers. And so it is something which we are definitely working on. Even quite recently, I visited some irrigation sites, most especially the Akomodan irrigation sites, the Wita irrigation sites, the Garu one, and then the Tono Dam one. And I must say that indeed, the dry season farming has commenced, but I must admit that we've commenced at a rather slow pace because there are some diseases that have affected our tomato plants. But I can assure you that, next year by this time we should be in full force or full flight, right. And hopefully we can reduce our imports by 20 to 30%, and then of course the following year we continue to reduce our imports from Burkina Faso.
And John, while we wait for that to happen, what are the interim measures right now as we speak? About 7 Ghanaian traders were killed in Burkina Faso when they were going to get some tomatoes in the country. Are there any measures in place to mitigate the impact that we are likely to face with this?
Well, when you look at, cross-border trades, I mean, there are so many other foreign nationals who come to Ghana to buy, our vegetables, who come to buy ginger, who come to buy, coconut and so on and so forth. And so cross-border trade is something which is not new when it comes to West Africa. And I think in the interim, we still do need tomatoes. Most of our farmers in Ghana, as we speak, are doing tomatoes on a much larger, on a much smaller scale. And we need to, balance the trade. And so we are in talks with the Interior Ministry to see how best we can protect some of these traders who go to Burkina Faso to be able to bring in tomatoes that we need to consume in this country.
And John, speaking about protection, I know that there's already a policy in place where Ghanaian traders who get into Burkina Faso are protected, at least until they get to the Ghanaian border. How is this protection that you're in talks with the Interior Ministry going to be different from the ones we already have in place?
Well, I think it has to be enhanced. It has to be relooked at. It has to be reevaluated and see, our shortcomings or the shortcomings of, other authorities. I mean, the truth of the matter is that we cannot stop cross-border trade. Of course, we do encourage a lot of cross-border trade, but all in all, we just need to revalue some of these security measures that have been in place or that have been in place and see how best we can protect our traders at all costs when they go and bring in not just tomatoes, but other perishable items.
You have spoken about the long-term plan, which is supposed to begin somewhere next year, where you're going to make sure that you cut our dependency on tomatoes from Burkina by between 20 to 30%, if I heard you right. But in the meantime, now farmers are scared to go to Burkina Faso. The demand for tomato is still there. What are you doing for traders?
Well, in the meantime, in the next couple of days, we'll definitely announce some of the measures that we've taken to protect these traders who go to Burkina Faso and other countries that are a little bit unstable. And so in the coming days, we'll be announcing some of the measures that we've taken to protect some of these traders. And I think I myself will be, I just came back from Bono East region, but I'll be going back to be able to interact with these traders and see how best we can help them to solve our problems, our tomato demand in Ghana.
You've also spoken about irrigation in relation to this. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, when you look at some of our irrigation schemes, most especially the ones in the north, when you go to Tono Dam around the Navrongo area, currently most of the farmers are farming, or some of the farmers are farming tomatoes, but it's on a much smaller scale. And so it's more or less like a trial stage where we want to scale it up before the year ends or next year. If you also go to Akomadan irrigation scheme, there are some tomato growing farmers there as we speak that they would harvest their tomatoes maybe in about 2 or 3 months' time. And so all these schemes are the ones that we want to scale up hopefully by next year. But also we've distributed we're about to distribute some solar water pumps to vegetable farmers across the country. And then the water pumps that we seize or that the Ministry of Natural Lands and Natural Resources seized from the Galamseyers, we've distributed some last year, over 1,000 of them, to small-scale vegetable farmers across the country. And so hopefully when all these come on board, we'll be able to mitigate our production of tomatoes and other vegetables across the country. But all in all, I'm very hopeful that next year by this time, I'm sure most of the trucks that are going to Burkina Faso would reduce. And then also, I know of a private company that's doing about 6,000 or is about to do about 6,000 acres of tomatoes in their front plains. And so when all these programs come on board, hopefully we'll be able to reduce our traders from going to Burkina Faso to get our tomatoes.
And have our farmers and traders been consulted on these plans?
Oh no, they're being consulted. That's how come when you come to the Ministry of Food and Agric, we are encouraging the formation of cooperatives, because I, for one, or we in the ministry, when we go to an area we want to deal with tomato farmers or rice farmers or carrot farmers, we want to deal with them in a cooperative form. And so before the year ends, we'll deal with all the tomato farmers, the tomato cooperatives, and see how best we can help them. Yesterday, I was in the Eastern region, in the Kuru area. I met some vegetable farmers. They told me what they need, and I encouraged them to do more of dry season farming. And so we are trying to scale things up this year so that hopefully by November, December, they'll start planting again, and then we'll be able to meet our demands.
John, I'll take you back to the security arrangement, but you mentioned that you're in talks with the Interior Minister. Now, there are concerns as to what sort of arrangement is going to be in place. Is it that our security men will accompany them, cross the border with them, or they will accompany them, leave them at the border? You have security arrangements with Burkina Faso government for their security personnel to accompany them when you leave them at the border. How is it looking like?
I mean, these are security measures that we are still putting flesh to. And so in the next couple of days, when we firm it up, we'll be able to let you know the kind of security arrangements that are being put in place.
In the meantime, though, do you have any information as to whether there are still traders who are going into Burkina Faso to get some tomatoes?
Yes, there are just a few of them. Of course, it's reduced significantly. There are just a few of them. But we are hoping that in the next couple of days, you know, most of the traders will feel safe enough when we put those security measures in place. And
as a deputy minister in charge of Agric, would you encourage the traders to still go to Burkina Faso to trade at this particular time?
Once the security measures are in place, yes. I'll tell them that their security is safe.
No, but you mentioned that as we speak right now, there are still others who are going there. I'm speaking about those who are still going there. Would you advise them that they should continue to go there?
No, I mean, no. Those going there now, I would advise them not to go, of course, because we can't guarantee safety. But of course, once we put those security measures in place, yes, then I would advise all of them to go.
You also mentioned about a pilot with regards to irrigation that you're undertaking. And then if it works, you're going to do them on a large scale. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, like I said, when you go to Akomadan irrigation scheme, they've done about, I think, 90 to 100 acres. I mean, all of them are pilots. But the truth is, you know, the reason why they are pilots is because we are trying various varieties. Just this morning, I was speaking to a tomato farmer in the Volta region, and they made it clear that it's a bit hard to grow the tomatoes in Volta region at this time because the weather is a bit hot, but it's better to grow it in the north. I was also on the phone with one or two farmers in the Garu area where they have a large irrigation scheme there. But I think most importantly, what is very fundamental is the kind of tomatoes that can withstand the harsh weather conditions. And that's how come we are going through all these trial stages. And sometimes it's needed. It's needed to go through these trial stages so that at the end of the day, you'd realize that, okay, maybe if it's the Sika variety that we need, or it's the Diva variety that we need, or it's any other variety that we need that can withstand the harsh weather conditions, then yes, we can move forward using that variety next year.
Right. And John, our checks here indicates that in 2024 alone, we imported $98 million worth of vegetables from Burkina Faso. That means it's not tomatoes alone. We import onions, we import pepper, and other vegetables. You've focused primarily on tomatoes. Are there other measures for other vegetables that we import from Burkina Faso to reduce our dependency on them?
Yes, but I mean, if you look at the kind of imports that we import, I mean, in terms of the vegetables, tomato pretty much take up a bigger majority of it. But of course, we're also looking at pepper, we're also looking at onions, we're also looking at even livestock. We're also looking at various goods that we can hitherto produce them here. But you know, when you're undertaking such activities, it might take time. Like I said, we are trying out different varieties of the tomatoes, the onions, the pepper, to see which ones can withstand, you know, our weather conditions. Because of course we have water and irrigation. We have some pumps. We have irrigation schemes around. So what is left is the variety that we need, and also some of the inputs that can boost the production of these vegetables in the dry season.
You've advised traders against going to Burkina Faso, at least in the interim, while you engage with the Interior Ministry to ensure the security arrangements are in place. While they wait, what do?
I mean, while they wait, we'll see how best we can see how quickly we can help them get into Burkina Faso. Because mind you, I think in a day you have a few trucks going in and coming out. But I think that that's what I said, in the next few days, we'll be able to firm up the arrangements so that the traders can go in and come out quickly with their goods.
Right, John Dumola, I want to thank you very much for your time this afternoon. He's the Deputy Minister in charge of Food and Agriculture there, explaining to us the arrangements government is putting in place to ensure that our traders who go to neighboring Burkina Faso to ply their trade are protected. And you've been following the news in the last few days. 7 Ghanaians who went to Burkina Faso to trade in tomatoes were killed by alleged Islamist insurgents who killed them in Burkina Faso alongside other individuals from other countries as well. And we've been speaking to the Deputy Minister in charge of Agric, John Dumelo, who's been explaining to us about the measures government is putting in place. You're still watching the Pulse here on Joy News. Return from the break with more. See you in a moment. Welcome back to the Pulse. The Ghana Tree Crops Development Authority is recommending a policy to make tree crop cultivation mandatory for public servants, civil servants, members of parliament, ministers of state, and other government appointees. Speaking at the maiden edition of the Ghana Tree Crops Investment Summit and Exhibition, the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Andy Osei Okra, said the initiative could also be introduced as a qualifying criterion for political appointments. He's noting that the proposal is inspired by the successful implementation of a similar approach in Côte d'Ivoire. And before that plan even becomes law, Takoradi MP Kwabena Ochre Daku Mensah has welcomed the move to make a tree crop plantation compulsory for MPs, while Inshaeso MP Stephen Amo is raising concerns over research backing the move to make tree crop planting compulsory.
In the first place, in my opinion, I think it's a good proposal. It's not the first time any government has done what they are doing, whether NDC or MPP, being the leading fraternities, political fraternities. So it's good, and I need to commend them for it. However, I always have a challenge. It looks as if almost all the policies, or the bills, or the laws, or the programs earmarked by certain governments in Ghana are not, or is not preceded with or by any properly conducted research with collected data, design frameworks to really know specifically what we want to attain, so that it becomes a benchmark to appraise what we do as a country, as a government. And because these things are not done, most of these policies and programs are not sustainable.
How would you want this to be approached?
I think what they have to do is, it's not every constituency they can grow cash crop in the first place. So they should have conducted the needed research. And by now they should have been able to earmark areas that are relevant, districts, constituencies, regions that are relevant. And then they should have a target. Okay, we want to have for example, or for instance, we want to have additional 2 million tons of cocoa. What size of land are we going to need for this particular project or program? Who owns that land? What's the soil content? What size, what fraction of that? Do we need 100,000 hectares or acres? Who owns it? How are we going to do it? What is the entire value chain? How will it look at? In terms of skill component of the labor force that we need, do we have them? If we don't, what do we have to do? How much will it cost us likely? In terms of even job creation, each of the segments, you need to do all these things. If you want to go beyond the boundaries of your country, what will be the other expected destinations, and what are the even world trade policies that we need? We need to put these comprehensive programs together. And if we're able to do this as a country, and these are the things that we don't take care of, that even feature in our economic endeavor, or what we want to do with our economy. And we always have a very fragile, very dependent economy or economic framework that has never been resilient. This is what we do.
Does petty cash crops like mango, coconut, and the rest also need this kind of research?
Even more than that. Even more. I have started personally. Maybe I'll check in. I've set up African Research and Development Institute, headed by Professor Adibanji. And we've started. Trust me, she's troubled. But we started. As I'm talking to you now, we have been able to actually categorize almost all the districts or regions and the type of crop that can be grown there. We have them. We'll move beyond that to find the size of land we need to meet aggregate demand for that crop in our country. And what will be the labor size we need, the skill component of the labor size. If we want to go beyond domestic consumption, 1 million of the country, who even travel to the countries to find out in terms of framework what they do. This is what we have to do.
So essentially, you want this to be backed by research.
Yeah, properly. I even think the research should have been conducted before, so that for them to even come out, they have the relevant pieces of information and feature that or integrate that in the whole law or bail or policy framework. Once you do that, that's what the white people do. Before this structure was put in place, they had to do the soil test. What kind of soil do they have? The depth they need, whether there are stones, whether it is muddy area, the iron rods they need, whatever. They design it. Okay. But Ghana is the only country that, whether NDC and PP, most of the times, our policies, our bills, our programs, our manifestos and other things are not preserved within this research. Okay. And that is why most of our policies are not sustainable.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Understand, there are two things we need to appreciate. One, those who plant these trees should be made actual owners of these trees. Not that they plant and government takes over. Otherwise, there won't be any incentives in doing them.
They want it compulsory, especially on you, the MPs.
Yeah, but if it's compulsory, the fact of the matter is that we accept the challenge. But if it's compulsory, who is going to give us the land? They should give us the land, because the land don't belong to MPs. The seedlings don't belong to the MPs. The fertilizer, blah, 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 that we're going to use in planting them don't belong to the MPs. So we have to find a system that works for MPs and can also work for other Ghanaians as well.
Can't MPs use their power and connections to get lands from traditional leaders from their constituency?
Yeah, but the land is not yours. The fact that you can use connection to get it doesn't mean that the chief is willing to give you. And there are some areas that we just don't have land. You understand? There are some cities you can't get land to farm. So what about that one too as well? And if you are going to somebody's jurisdiction to look for land, you cannot compulsory take the land from the person. So we need to look at all these things. But generally, we should accept the idea as Ghanaians that this is feasible, it can be done. But when we plant, we should be part owners of those plants that we are planting.
So that even if you are not
a place like Côte d'Ivoire, they started well by doing a lot of commercial farming, which has helped their industries being fed with the raw materials that they are looking for. And I believe that we can do something similar and seriously in this country.
But the most important thing, if I understand, is that government or the Tree Crop Development Authority must consider sourcing for the lands, making it available in all of the inputs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Away from Parliament, Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni has urged newly inducted students of the Ghana School of Law, Kumasi campus, to recognize that the legal profession is grounded in public service and accountability, not merely personal ambition. He reminded the fresh entrants that their admission into the school marks the beginning of a demanding but honorable journey. He stressed that the profession requires competence, which begins from the training of students at the School of Law. There's more in the following report.
The Kumasi campus of the Ghana School of Law continues to expand access to professional legal education in the Ashanti region and beyond, easing the pressure on the main campus in Accra. The introduction of 376 students into the school marks a formal initiation into the rigors and ethical demands of legal training. Addressing the inductees, Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni cautioned against viewing the profession as a shortcut to prestige or financial reward, urging inductees to instead commit themselves to discipline, excellence, and ethical responsibility.
The law is not a profession one enters for comfort. It is a vocation one accepts for service. As Lord Denning wisely admonished in Canada versus Plain, Christmas and Poor, the law must not be left behind by timorous souls who are fearful of change. The path before you will demand more than intelligence. It will demand courage. Courage to defend principle when it is unpopular. Courage to uphold ethics when compromise is convenient. And courage to remain faithful to the law when personal interests suggest otherwise.
According to the Chief Justice, the legal profession is a solemn public trust demanding integrity and service.
Never forget that the legal profession is not sustained by brilliance alone. It is sustained by integrity. It is not preserved by technical skill alone. It is preserved by honor. Halls do not stand because of buildings, nor statues because of ink. They stand because those entrusted with the law choose daily to defend its authority and its promise.
Professor Raymond Atuguba is director at the Ghana School of Law.
For fairness in legal education is not kindness, it is justice. Permit me to speak plainly, but from the heart. There will be moments when the workload feels overwhelming, moments when doubt whispers louder than confidence, and moments when fatigue tempts you towards mediocrity. In these moments, remember you are not merely reading law, you are being shaped by it. The Ghana School of Law is not a passage, it is a finance, and finances do not decorate, they refine. Let no one among you measure success by comparison, but by growth. Let no one seek shortcuts. There are none that do not eventually betray their user. And let no one underestimate that disciplined persistence can produce results.
Guest speaker, His Lordship Justice Dr. Opoku Edusei, a Justice of the Court of Appeal, also encouraged students to remain focused and resilient, noting that the training process is rigorous but essential in shaping responsible officers of the court.
You must bear in mind that you are training to join a profession which has shaped and continues to shape lives, a profession which has transformed and remains active in transforming humanity through the safeguarding of rights and resolution of disputes whilst maintaining justice and fairness. The study of the law is no ordinary pursuit. It requires diligence, commitment, and a deep sense of responsibility. You have been chosen to be part of this noble profession, and I have no doubt that each of you has the potential to leave a lasting legacy.
Reporting for Joy News, Josephine Sego.
And cases of children requiring urgent treatment but lacking financial support are encountered daily, placing immense pressure on healthcare providers. According to the Child Health Department of Hope Exchange Medical Center, critically ill children whose parents cannot afford basic medical care largely depend on the benevolence of the hospital and private entities. As an intervention, the facility has set up a sick fund to mitigate such emergencies to save the lives of children from families in financial distress. Clinton Yabua has more in this report.
With increasing patient numbers, the Hope Exchange Medical Center now admits children up to 14 years old, leading to congestion in the pediatric ward. In recent months, even the children's play area has been converted into an emergency ward to cope with the overflow. The Sick Fund, an account dedicated solely to needy patients, will serve as an emergency source of funding for critically ill children, covering essential investigations such as laboratory tests, scans, as well as medications. Management says funds from the Sick Fund are expected to support the expansion of the pediatric unit to improve care and restore child-friendly spaces. Dr. Adoma Fuku Odami is the head of the Child Department and senior specialist pediatrician.
We also receive patients from all over the country, so we are limited, we are constrained in terms of space. There are a whole lot of clinics that we want to start. There are a whole lot of services that we need to start. We need to cater for kids who have cancer. We need to cater for kids who have neurodevelopmental disorders. But because we are constrained for space, we are not able to do all that we are able to do. So we end up, unfortunately, leaving some children behind. You know, SDGs, we don't want to leave anybody behind. But unfortunately, because we are constrained for space, we end up having to leave some of our children behind. Some of the referrals that we should be able to accept, we are not able to accept because we don't have enough space to be able to take care of these children. For instance, also, we want to have a pediatric intensive care unit because there's only one at Konfanoche, and when it's full, it's full. If you have a kid who is critically ill, in need of life-saving interventions, what do? We just have to stand by, and that is not acceptable.
In a fundraising event of the Sick Fund, Dr. Sarah Mopoku, a pediatrician, said the initiative is a valuable asset in situations that would otherwise end in tragedy. The fundraising event was themed "Support a Sick and Needy Child," to quote the benevolence of private and public institutions to provide support to the Child Department of Hope Exchange.
And then this would permit us to even house in more referrals than we already do. This will also enable us to run more specialist clinics that we have due to the growing numbers of outpatient demands.
General Manager of the Centre, Dr. Dominic Osei, also pleaded for support for key hospital and completed infrastructure.
The hospital keeps growing, and now currently we don't have a single space here. We are going to start dental, and for the dental, the equipment is there, everything is installed just for space. Now we have to demarcate some of the rooms so that we can make room, push this one here, we psychiatry, so that we can have space for the dental clinic. So we've been pushing and pushing and pushing. They say you need a big ground for your AC. And we don't want the project to be one of what we know in Ghana, abandoned projects. We don't want to have any abandoned projects on our premises.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Government says it is partnering the University of Ghana, the University of Cape Coast, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to develop large language models trained in Ghanaian languages as part of efforts to align with international AI standards. Speaking at the launch of the HOLAP robotic waiter system in Accra, the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Sam George, announced that from April 1st, government will roll out the 1 million coders program and the President, John Mahama, to equip citizens with skills in coding, artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. The following report has more.
At the launch of the automated HOLAP robot waiter system, an AI-assisted innovation designed to automate service delivery in the hospitality sector, Minister for Communications, Innovation and Digitalization, Sam George, stressed that artificial intelligence will define the next phase of economic growth, job creation and global competitiveness.
We're already building large language models with the University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast and KNUST. We're building large language models that understand the Ghanaian nuance. And I like what the Ministry of Education is trying to do with Google, but I keep saying that is version 1.0. For us at the Communication Ministry, we're looking beyond that. Because my belief is this: the solution to Africa's problems do not sit in Silicon Valley. Because you see, our local languages have meanings.
For the Ghanaian innovators, the smart dining robot is designed to enhance customer experience while supporting restaurant staff.
With a smart ordering system, the moment you are in the restaurant, you have a tablet on your table where you can place your order. Once you place the order goes to the kitchen, right? Once the order goes to the kitchen, it's being processed. Once the order is ready, the robot pick up the order, then deliver it onto your table.
Deputy Minister of Education Clement Apak lauded the project, highlighting the potential of robotics to complement education and vocational training in Ghana.
Combining dining with robotics and automation and artificial intelligence. A very unique way of thinking, but it takes somebody who is very critical and visionary to even ponder about bringing these together. Clearly, I couldn't have done that. If we are to build the Ghana we want, it must be built by Ghanaians. And we know we have the talent. So let's support each other and give young talent room to grow. Let's help them nurture and prosper. Because if they do well, we all do well.
The HOLAP team says plans include more advanced humanoid robots and expansion into healthcare and other sectors, all aim to inspire young Ghanaians and build local expertise in robotics.
Let's take you to Parliament now, where the anti-LGBTQ bill is being laid.
Thank you.
Why are we doing this to ourselves? The member in invoking the standing orders did so rightly, calling on you to give a short explanation. Or Honorable Habib, is that not what you said in quoting the standing orders rightly? Now the standing orders for a good purpose says a short explanation, which you could do in a minute or a minute and a half. And mostly when it is a bill, you just state in short. The rule says short explanation. And it serves everybody. Honorable Team for you.
Mr. Speaker, I'm guided. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm guided. And so, reference to the memorandum that accompanies this bill, which summary in a few seconds I will submit, makes reference to the fact that the same bill was what was passed in the 8th Parliament. The majority leader can boldly contradict what the President of the Republic has said as a matter of public record, that the bill was never transmitted to Jubilee House, and that if this House passes it, then he will take a decision on it. And so, when this bill was first enlisted on the order paper in 7 months ago, it was deleted from the order paper the next day. A lot of controversies arose. Mr. Speaker, you ruled. Now we are here.
You see,
the bill has been made to protect the values of the binary nature of gender.
Can you hear me? Honorable Tim Fojo, when you are called upon presentation of a bill to give a short explanatory memorandum, you just go to state the object. It's a short explanation. Just go straight to tell us the object of the bill. Then you satisfy the requirement under the rules. It's not time for debate. The debate will come at the second reading.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your superior guidance. And so now, sticking to the object of the bill seeks to ensure that the definition of gender is not in ambiguity, as is now being authorized in textbooks and teacher manuals. The binary nature of gender as between male and female, and as assigned as birth, and its related activities in line with our Constitution and our values as a society, to protect marriage as contracted between a man and a woman, and to ensure that the family system, which we both cherish, are preserved. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, it is the expectation of the sponsors, which is bipartisan. It is a bipartisan private members bill which must be on record. And the expectation is that within this meeting, this Honorable House and all relevant committees will attach alacrity to this bill to pass it with urgency, as a matter of urgency, before this House rises, because it is not a new bill. It is an old bill which has gone through all the processes, consultations, and already survived plethora of legal and dissenting opinions, and has gone all the way to Supreme Court and held that no aspect of this bill affronts any aspect of our Constitution. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
The referral still standing.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. Given that this is the first time it is happening, where we have several sponsors to a bill, and the Deputy Whip has asked the sponsors to explain, to make a short, explanatory statement regarding the laying of the bill. And even though he rose up to bow to allow the bill to be laid, the others have a stake. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to get your pleasure as to whether it is not fair that the other sponsors of the bill be also heard on the object of the bill and etc. Mr. Speaker, why they are sponsoring the bill, Mr. Speaker. So you can add the other, you can take a few people who are part of the sponsors. Mr. Speaker, this is important at all times in the consideration of this bill, so that we will know that we are approaching it from a non-partisan point of view, so that the nation will be behind us. Because if we want to go partisan on this bill, it will be a problem. So it is important from the beginning that the bipartisanship is reflected at every stage. So given that he has made a statement, this side of the House should also be given an opportunity to also make a statement indicating our support and commitment to the passage of this bill, a commitment that we know will go up to the signing the bill. Because the other time, the commitment went and then it stopped at the gate of the Flagstaff House. This time to go into the Flagstaff House and we will sign it.
Honorable Majority Leader, I agree that there are about 10 sponsors of the bill. But in view of the fact that there will be a second reading, where many more of the sponsors will have the opportunity to debate the principles, the mischief in the society that the bill is seeking to cure, let's reserve our energy for the second reading of the bill. Yes, is it on the bill? If it is on the bill, honourable members, with all due respect, we have already referred the bill to the Constitutional Legal. Let them go and work on it and bring their results.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to make an application to it if the leadership of the Human Rights Committee can be added to the Constitutional Legal. Because, Mr. Speaker, because it is human rights related matters.
Yes. The majority side application is to add the leadership of the Human Rights Committee. And I think it is in order. I will therefore direct that the leadership of the Human Rights Committee joins the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee to consider the bill and report. Yes, Honorable Kinsley Nyako.
Mr. Speaker, you and I are on the private members' bills and motions committee. These bills pass through us. And I will make an application that, if possible, our committee cannot be used as a conveyor belt for the speaker, for speaker to bring to the House. I'm pleading that the leadership of this committee should also be part to consider all such bills that will pass through our committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kinsley Nyako, are you guided by Standing Order 186? Honorable Kinsley Nyako, are you guided by Standing Order 186? So you know that the work of the private members' bill and motions committee is limited to writing a report to the Speaker whether or not the bill meets the constitutional text or not, and whether or not it should be introduced. I believe within the rules, once the private members' bill and motions committee has done that, the work of the committee regarding that bill has come to an end. So there is no way by which we could order a private members' bill and motions committee to also join in the consideration of the bill. The responsibility of that committee is supposed to advise as to whether, based on our rules and the Constitution, the bill meets the test, particularly Article 108, Section 100 of Public Financial Management Act, whether the bill meets those requirements. And once the committee is satisfied and recommended the introduction of the bill, at introduction, you don't ask the committee to join the consideration.
You are right on that score, but my point is that because we are privy to the bill, we have read the bill and made recommendation to Mr. Speaker for his consideration as to whether he has to bring it before the House or no. Because of the foreknowledge, I'm saying that it wouldn't be a bad idea for the leadership to transfer their knowledge to bring to bear on the committee. That
honorable member, the committee is Fantus official, and I'm also Fantus official. Yes, Honorable Habib.
Mr. Speaker, I think you are right in addressing the issue my colleague raised. But Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank you for adding the leadership of the Human Rights Committee. Mr. Speaker, if it will not hurt, I think for us to be able to get a very good bill, if we can add also the leadership of the Gender Committee, because, Mr. Speaker, majority of the definitions of that has to do with gender issues. So if we get the leadership of gender, as we have already added human rights, and then it will be able to make us have a very good committee to look at it.
I indicated I am Fantus official. The committee sittings, any member who has interest in the bill can join the committee and help give consideration to the bill, and thereafter a report will come to the House for debate. Yes. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, if you will be pleased, I rise to make an application for us to do statements, and in particular pray that you permit me to proceed to make my statement. There is laying. Okay, you can lay the paper. I thought you were done laying the papers. Okay, that's fine. If you're not done,
but we are considering item number 10.
Mr. Speaker, I thought
no, it's left with C.
Mr. Speaker, I rest my case. I rest my case.
Yes, item number 10C.
An act to amend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to remove restrictions imposed on dual citizenship and persons who owe allegiance to a country other than Ghana from holding public offices specified in Clause 2 of Article 8 and Paragraph A of Clause 2 of Article 94 and provide for related matters.
Honourable members, the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana Amendment Bill 2025 is duly read for the first time and referred to the committee responsible on constitutional legal affairs. Yes?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if we can add the leadership of Foreign Affairs Committee to this bill, since it's involved. Okay, Mr. Speaker, then I abandon that.
Yes, the application is to come back to statement.
Speaker, we are not opposed.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Kabiru.
Speaker, thank you very much, but I'm rescinding on the statement I wanted to make. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, honorable members, we have a statement standing in the name of Osahin Alexander Kwamina Afanyo Makins and Makin. Very well. I now proceed to give him the floor.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Leader, Honorable Majority Leader,
I rise.
Minority Leader, hold on. Do we take the statement jointly, or you want to reduce yours into a comment? Do we take the statement jointly, or you want to reduce yours into a comment? I believe that we should take it jointly. Very well. We should take it jointly. Very well. Yes. But it was agreed that.
All right, so you've been monitoring proceedings from Parliament where the anti-LGBTQ bill is being laid before the House, and currently on the floor is the Minority Leader, Alexander Afenyo Markin. We'll bring you more of that session in our subsequent bulletin. But that's it for the Pulse this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, have a good evening.